So we have another special guest who's going to help me unpack this a little bit more. I'd like to ask Veronica Schreibes-Smith to join me on stage. We're going to dive deeper. Veronica is you can stay with us.
Okay.
You've got stuff to say about this too, Beth, I'm sure. Veronica is the founding principal of Vera Iconica Architecture. She is a global pioneer in wellness architecture. She chairs the Wellness Architecture Initiative for the Global Wellness Institute. You're founder of the nonprofit organization Wellness Architecture and Design. You are just wellness architecture is basically what we're saying. Anyway, we're so lucky to have you join us from Jackson Hole. Thank you for coming all the way out here. And yeah, welcome, Veronica.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. You guys have our snow. I want it back.
You can have it. All right, so I think one of the things that I really tried to do in this trend, and that I think it's important to, because we are sort of saying this is kind of a whole new category. That's how we see it. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what would you say is the difference between longevity residences and wellness residences, or is there one?
It's a great question, and I love how this trend puts those into camps. I would encourage people to look at it as this big geographic field with these two stakes in the ground. And those stakes, those camps are important because it helps people understand the difference between wellness architecture and longevity architecture, which I think you highlighted. But it's really so much broader. We tend to think about wellness and longevity as programming or activities, things we do in the building. And often the way that the building is actually designed or constructed gets left out. So the things that are more glamorous or catchphrases like nudge architecture and biophilic design, those get repeated and they get implemented. But when it comes to deeper or more intangible aspects, those sometimes get a little bit lost.
Right. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you're doing in this space. What kinds of things are you designing for your clients in terms of that are bringing longevity elements in, or wellness elements as well? But really, we want to kind of focus on the longevity side of things. What are people asking for?
Yeah, so the longevity, I would say wellness is really a baseline for longevity. So about 15 years, we started to integrate a lot of the wellness features that you were talking about. Good light, good air, things like that. About 10 years ago, we started to see our first requests for biohacking, red light, hyperbaric chambers, even some cryotherapy or hydrothermal circuits within the home, so like an in-home spa. Then in 2018, we started to see maybe a third level, like biometrics, starting to measure. We participated in the wellness home wellness home for innovation and technology in Lake Nona, which you mentioned in the trend. But they had a toilet that could harvest your stool sample or urine sample and lab test it. And then the idea, this was not a market-ready product yet, but then it could go to your mirror, and so as you're getting your tips on what to wear based on the weather, you could also get your tips on, hey, your magnesium is low, your biomarkers are showing us this. So as time goes on, and as you go, the home has different responsibilities, and I think that the architect has different responsibilities. For the last 100 years, architecture has been marginalized. There's a lot more specialists that you need to hire. And now I see wellness as really kind of opening up the architect's job, not only to design the home so that it is a healthy home and a healthy space, but really help people navigate this field of how they want to take care of themselves, what is appropriate for them to have in their home, what's appropriate for them to have in their community, and how to set that ecosystem up for success.
Yeah. So you build a lot of kind of high-end, beautiful homes, but more individual homes, right? Than like some of the things that we're talking about in this trend are these kind of whole organized communities, right? So what's your take on that? What do you think about how the direction of where that's going? And I know you're familiar with some of these, the estate, for instance, and you've talked on panels with people about what they're doing. What's your take on like how this will play out?
Yes, so both with wellness communities and longevity residences, right now the way they're being executed often is a community that is not always open to the public. So and there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why it starts with luxury. So if you think about it, every dollar has an intention, and it's the intention of that dollar that's going to drive the project goals. So if I'm building my home, I have intentions to live a long and healthy life. If I am building somebody else's home and have a fiduciary duty to my investor, I have other project goals. And where you find that there's an alignment in wellness or longevity and return on investment is longer holding periods. So if you look at some of the case studies that you have, the developers, the estate, for example, their plan is to hold and operate their properties. And this is really key because they're thinking about not only the longevity of the people that will go into them and how that will continue to fuel a sustainable ecosystem, but they're also thinking about the longevity of the architecture, the durability, the maintenance, how is the staff's experience going to be, or the people providing the services to those community members. And that is really the bigger picture that needs to be thought through when designing both the home and how the home ties into the bigger infrastructure.
Right. Good. Fantastic. I'm just wondering if maybe you can talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that you were sort of alluding to earlier about the non-sexier side of things, that like what are some of the things that are important for creation of any place that's going to call itself longevity, and what are the materials that you need to use, or what are the unsexy things that are behind the scenes that you would be well versed in? Yeah,
well, people don't like hearing about them because, one, they're nerdy, and two, they're slightly depressing. So
that sounds great.
Well, we can go grab coffee after this. I love picking on insulation. I've also made some great enemies picking on spray foam. But there's a lot of toxins in our standard buildings, and there's a reason for that. I used to, go around and saying, why is everybody messing this up? How could they be messing it up? And now I've looked at it. Every misstep we took was actually a very well-intentioned misstep. Oh. And change happens so slowly in the building industry that sometimes we wake up and we don't realize that we've accepted being in spaces with poor air and bad light. And it's like, when did we start saying that this was okay? So it was the 80s. Sick building syndrome. But so those are things that our firm and other architects that are tuned into health and well-being, they need to have your back. You don't necessarily need to know and make every single decision that might be swimming upstream to some extent, but electromagnetic fields in your environment, they matter. And they can't be seen, and there's a lot of confusing science and data and reports about it. But knowing that your sleep sanctuary is a place that can be free and clear of that you can have oxygen and good air, that it can impact your immune system, your aging. You don't need to know all of those details unless you want to. But you just want to know that somebody has your back and they're going to design it right so that that fundamental baseline of wellness is there when you go do your biohacking and your biometrics and all of these other things.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because, one of the things that we want to sort of be careful about is, how much of these places are really offering something brand new and different and meaningful, and then how many are just a kind of marketing ploy, right? Because longevity is a hot word and a hot topic. So, I think we're just going to have to keep an eye on this whole sector and see how it develops. It's as we said, there are so many of these things that they just don't exist yet. So they're just coming down the pipeline, and we just kind of wanted to flag it and say, this is happening. Beth, do you have anything you want to ask?
No,
Veronica?
it's speaking at the beginning of contradictory trends and paradoxes. And obviously the other biggest trend right now in wellness real estate is analog homes. Mm-hmm. So it's not the home as NASA longevity clinic command center, with diagnostics on all the time and toilets that, analyze everything, and, daily MRIs. I love that idea. But no, but this is a huge movement to, remove digital, make spaces in the home, create homes through sound. Thinking through everything to digitize our lives.
Yeah.
So, I think that there's when you have longevity residences that are based on diagnostics, you're going to have the same pushback, which is no, the most important thing for longevity is multi-generational living, co-living, social community, nervous system regulation in the home, just to connect that one.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned in the report how we're living at a unique time in history. And that is true. You point out the population growth.
Massive demographic shift right now, yeah.
Massive. Coupled with a massive shift in digital, computerized information era. Now, we're just now seeing artificial intelligence. The environments that we are living in today are evolving much faster than we can. So in a way, if you don't have some kind of biohacking program, we're asking way more of ourselves than we ever have in the past. So just to keep up, we need to start integrating this, and the home has to be a sanctuary. And I tend to go for the low-tech solutions, to find joy, to not see how healthy or how good my sleep is by looking down, but to say, how do I feel like I have a vital, vibrant life? And that is the absolute goal. And I think it's great to track it for a period of time until you can learn and until you can trust your intuition and know how you're doing and know what you like. And it needs to be happening in home as a sanctuary that nourishes our emotions, that helps stabilizes them, that gives us resilience, where our soul and our spirituality can thrive. And we need these softer analog things today more than ever.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.